You're listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe of Torch in Houston, Texas. This is the Everyday Judaism Podcast.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Everyday Judaism Podcast. It is so wonderful to be here. Today we're going to continue part 2 of the laws of salting. Last week, we discussed the first half of the Siman number 36. And what we discussed was the very basic idea that every animal, every kosher animal that is slaughtered according to halacha and the way the Torah tells us to slaughter an animal, after it's slaughtered, it needs to be checked to ensure that it is indeed kosher and that there weren't any defects and any type of blemishes internally that would render it non-kosher. So it's a kosher animal, slaughtered properly, you checked it, everything is fine. Now comes the process of extracting the blood, which is what we call salting. So we have kosher salt, which is a little bit more coarse than the fine salt. And what we do is, it's a very simple process. First, it needs to be soaked in warm water for about a half hour. And then, not more than 24 hours, we said that because that would lock it in. And then, after the half hour, you wash off the entire, thank you so much. You wash off the entire piece of meat or chicken, and then you salt it finely on all sides. Thank you so much. And then you rinse it off after the salting process is done, and then you can, and how long did we say? Anybody remember? How long does it need to be salted for? No, it needs to be salted. Yes?
A half hour at least.
For right. So
1 hour.
Right. 1 hour is the appropriate. If someone's in a rush, then we said 24 minutes, I believe it was. 24 minutes. But 26 minutes. Okay, very good. Thank you. So it's supposed to be for an hour, and that way it extracts all the blood, and then you rinse off all the salt, you rinse off all of the areas that have any remnants left. Okay, now we're talking about different parts of the body. Last week, a question came up in the Ask Away about what do we do with the heart, what do we do with the brain, all these different parts that are densely blood filled need to be. So to answer that question, they need to be cut in all of the chambers, in all of the areas that have blood. It needs to be drained in a way that it will pool out, and then it's salted both on the outside and in the inside. Okay? Usually in chicken, it doesn't need to be all, the outside and the inside. This needs to be in the outside and the inside. A piece of meat, a regular meat from a cow doesn't need to be salted in the inside. There is no inside. It's one big block of meat. Okay. We are up to halacha number 15. Harosh, the head, must be cut into pieces before it is soaked. Tzrichen l'chatcho kodem shuriya v'likach es hamoach, and to take the brain, v'likra es hakrum shalav, and to tear the membrane that is on it, which is the outer layer, v'lishroso u'lamolcho bifnei atzmo, and it needs to be soaked and salted by itself, separately from the head. The head needs to be salted both inside and outside. It can also be salted on the hairs. You don't need to pluck out the hairs in order to salt it. You can salt it on top of the hairs. Halacha number 16. Number 16, atzamos sheyesh behemoach, if a bone has marrow within it, im adayin hein devukos babasar, if the bones are still attached to the meat, molchon im habasar beyachad kamo shehein, then you may salt them as is together with the meat. Aval im nifredu min habasar, but if the bone was separated from the meat, Yimlechem bifnei atzam, he should salt them separately. This means the bone should be salted separately. V'lo yunchu b'molchan etzel habasa, and you should not remain alongside the meat while in the salt. Okay, so you put it in a separate area. Halacha number 17. Ragle behemos tzrichin lachtoch rashi hatlafayim kodem hashriya. When salting the legs of the animal, one must cut off the tips of the hooves before soaking them. Leman yuchal hadam lazuv mehem, so that the blood can drain out from them. As we mentioned in other areas, in other parts of the animals, the person who's doing the salting has to position them in a manner that will enable the blood to drain out. And again, you can salt them with the legs, even with the hairs still attached to the leg. That's fine. Yudches, halacha number 18. Chelev tzrichim likra kodem hashriya sheyetzi hadam mimeno. One must tear open the heart. Sorry, not chelev. Halev, the heart. The heart must be cut open before soaking, so that the blood should come out of it. And this is, again, we're going to see the common theme with all different parts of the animal's body. Before they are salted, they need to be opened so that it can drain out the blood. Again, the Torah prohibits us. The Torah in Leviticus, Chumash Vayikra, the Torah tells us you cannot eat the blood, any blood, not human blood, not animal blood. And therefore, we're so cautious in our Siman here to learn exactly how this is done. Now, before you go ahead and do this in any specific situation, make sure that you ask halachic authority for practical advice in exactly how this is done. The Kitzur here gives us a very abridged general outline, just so we have the concepts. We may not know how to operate our day-to-day lives from the Kitzur here, but we're at least getting concepts, and that's what we want to do. We want to open up our minds to the ideas of what's going on in the background of halacha. Hareya, which is the lungs, noagim gamkein lachotcha. It's customary to cut the lungs as well before salting them. V'liftoach haknoknos hagdolos sheba, and to open up its larger tubes, kodem hashriya, before soaking it. Halacha number 20, hakaved, the liver, and we know the liver has the most blood. There's a lot of blood. Yesh bo harbedam. There's a lot of blood inside the liver. This is halacha number 20. Lefikoch lechatchila ein lo takana levashlo alidei melicha. Therefore, initially, it cannot be made fit for cooking by the salting process alone. Rather, it must be roasted over a fire. But it needs to be cut very well first. And have the cut parts open on top of the fire, so that the fire beneath draws out all of the blood that's in it. And one must rinse the liver really well before placing it over the fire. When it's on the fire, open with the cuts on facing the fire, you salt it really well while it's placed over the fire. And you roast it until it is fit for being eaten. Afterwards, one rinses it well to clean it from the blood that has been extracted or discharged. And one should be very careful to rinse it 3 times. Again, there's a lot of blood there, so you got to really rinse it well. And after which one may cook it as he wishes. Okay? Those who enjoy eating liver, it's very particular in halacha how the liver must be roasted before it is ready to be eaten. It's different than any other part of the animal because it's so rich with blood. Now, this interesting thing. This has nothing to do with our topic. But it's interesting. I have a friend who's a pilot, and he does medevac. And what is medevac? Basically, either transporting sick patients or transporting organs. And he has asked me on numerous occasions to travel with him. And on one occasion, what he does is he picks up, here in Houston, he'll take either the doctor and the nurse or the team, and we'll fly to wherever we need to go and pick up the organ. They'll go into the operating room, pick up the harvested organs, bring them back to Houston or wherever it needs to go, and it'll be put in within 90 minutes into the recipient. So we went once, we traveled to Austin to pick up a heart for a patient. It's interesting, there was also a different aircraft that came, also coming back to Houston for, I think it was the liver. I don't know why they didn't just send it with one. I'm not judging, I'm not asking any questions, but either way, so we came to get the heart. And, I'm an EMT, so I asked the crew, can I join you in the operating room? I've never done this before. I've never done it since either. But it was quite a sight to see, because this was sadly it was being harvested from a 15-year-old boy who did cliff jumping into a lake and hit his head on a rock, and he was out. So all of his organs, because he drowned, his lungs were not able to be used for another person, but his heart and his liver and his kidneys were all taken for different teams. Either way, I was there in the room, and I stood by the anesthesiologist, which is by his head, and I was looking over this sheet and looking at and seeing this whole unbelievable. So the first thing was the hand of Hashem, of how Hashem created our bodies so perfectly, so beautifully, how everything fits so it's perfection on such an amazing level. It's just like, this is not talking about a human body, of how everything fits in so perfectly. It's unbelievable to see it from the inside. It was just absolutely amazing. And then they took out the heart. My team was the heart team, and I was watching what they were doing the entire time. So after they took out the heart, it's like, it's a heart of a human being, and it's soon going to be, within 90 minutes, it's going to be in another person's body. A heart it's an amazing thing, the transplant of how, it's just a miracle. Either way, one of the things they needed to do before they transport this heart is they need to drain all of the blood out. And by the time they were done, they just poured a lot of ice, and it basically looked like a piece of chicken. It really did. You look at a piece of raw chicken, that's what the heart looked like. And they put it into this ice, and then boom, we were out, back on the plane, back to Houston, and it was put into another person's heart. Now, that's one side of the story. The other side of a story, not the same story, not the same incident. I get a phone call one night at 11:30, 11:45 at night. I get phone calls at crazy hours, but not always after 11 o'clock. And I get this phone call from a friend of mine, and he says to me, "Rabbi, I need you to pray for me." He said, "I just got a phone call. I'm getting a new heart." He says, "I have a half hour to be at the hospital. I'm on my way to the hospital." Apparently some motorcyclist, I call him donor cyclist, and he, was in an accident, and he has a fresh young heart, and I think it's a very, very special thing that he was able to get a fresh young new heart. But that's I saw what it would look like, in before transplant, and it's an amazing thing to be part of such an experience. I was shooken up for a few days, and I came here. Actually, we have some videos online where we talked about it. I mean, the miracle, we say Asher Yotzar, the blessing that we recite after we use the restroom. For our body to function right is a miracle. And we take it for granted because we only realize when it's not functioning right, when it's not perfect, and we're like, well, I have an ache, I have this is hurting, this is making noise, this is doing that. Suddenly we realize the miracles that we live by every single day. And it's really, we should dance and sing every day that we have a functional body, thank Hashem. We should sing His praise every single day, thanking Him. Let's continue quickly. Halacha number 21. One must be careful to roast the liver only over a fire and not in a shoveled out oven, like an oven that has had coals cleared out of it. Also, one should not wrap it up in paper. It's not like a brisket. Brisket, you have butcher paper. You don't do that for liver. You must roast it unwrapped. Va'afilu bin yor gorua, and even poor quality paper, it should not be wrapped like that. Halacha number 22. Avol ein limloach kavet kodem atzliya kederach shemochem basa. However, one may not salt the liver before roasting it, like we do for other meats. Umikol shekain she'ein limloach kavet im basar biyachad, and certainly one should not salt liver together with other meat, because what's going to happen? The blood is going to go from the liver onto the other meat. Halacha number 23. Hatchol, the spleen, dino keshar basar, has the same rules that are applying to it like all other meat. Rak tzrichen lahaser meno kodem shriya esakrum shaleh, but the only exception to it is that before you soak it, you need to remove the membrane from upon it. She'asar mishum chelev, as the membrane is prohibited because of the prohibition of chelev, which is the forbidden fats of the animal, so you need to take off that membrane. Gam tzrichim lenakron mishum hagidin. Also, you need to purge it of the membrane sinews. Notel rosh hagid v'moshech, he takes the top of the sinew and pulls it. V'nimshachin imo gimel chutin shebetocho, and 3 strands from within the spleen come along with it. V'tzorach lizar shelo yafsik shum, and you have to be careful that no strand of the membrane breaks. And if it does break, you need to root it out. You need to take out those membranes. Halacha number 24. The chalcholes is the rectum, v'shar me'ayim, and the rest of the intestines. Molchin bitzad hachitzon shehashuman davuk ba. One salts them on the outer side where the fat adheres to it. Dine hakol b'yoredea siman tzadik. You have to, if you want to learn more about that, you can look in the Shulchan Aruch in section Yoredea, siman number 90. Halacha number 25. Keva, the stomach of the calf, shel egel shenimtza bo chalav. If the calf has in the stomach some milk, shofer nesachalav kodem shriya, before you soak it, pour out the milk that is in its stomach, ve'arei hu keshar basar, and then it is treated like all other meat. Halacha number 26. Beitzim shenimtzu b'socha ofos. What if they found eggs inside of the bird after they slaughtered it? Bein shehem ktanim me'od, bein shenigmur legamre im klipason, regardless of whether they are very, very small or fully developed, including their shell, tzrichim shriya u'melicha v'hadacha. They require soaking, salting, and rinsing. Aval, lo yimlechem etzel basar, also do not salt them together with the rest of the meat that is being salted. Aval yanichem b'mokum shelo yozuv alehem hadam min habasar. Rather, it should be placed in a place, in an area where the blood discharged from the meat is not going to be, that is being salted, is not going to flow onto them. V'beitzim elu afilu nigmru legamr asur la'achlan b'cholav. These eggs, even the fully formed ones that were found inside the bird, may not be eaten together with milk. They have now a rule of being fleishiks, meat and not dairy. Halacha number 27. Basar sheshaha gimel me'es le'es, meat that has sat for 3 full days, 72 hours without being salted, asur lebishul, may not be cooked even if it was subsequently salted. Elo imkein nishra bein time, unless it was being soaked in the interim. Halacha number 28, the final halacha of the siman. Noagim ba'ofos, it is the practice when preparing fowl, shela'acha shehisiru hanotzos mehavavin osan ba'ur, that after the feathers are removed, one singes the birds with fire, lahasir sanishar, to remove the stubble that remains, utzrichin lizor, and one must be very careful, shelo lahavavan ki im bishalheves shel kash v'teven, that one has to be very careful not to singe them with any flame besides the flame of burning hay and or straw. Shelo yasu shalheves gdol, it should not make a large flame. V'yizaru laholich ha'ofos ana labal yischamamu, and a person should be careful to move the birds back and forth within the flame so that they should not become heated, and then it's going to lock up and not going to be able to remove all the blood from within it. So this concludes Siman number 36. The next Siman we're going to discuss next week is the Siman of immersing utensils inside a mikvah. When you have utensils that are made by non-Jews, you need to dip them into a mikvah to ensure that idolatry is not involved in it and that the utensils are clean from a spiritual standpoint before we begin enjoying them. So this concludes Siman number 36 and part 2 of the laws of salting. Now we are going to open the floor to your questions on the Ask Away number 22. For those of you who are live on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or all the other platforms, thank you so much. Please don't forget to click subscribe. Don't forget to click like. Don't forget to click share, and join us in our next episode that's going live in about 2 minutes. Thank you so much. Have a magnificent day, everybody. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe on a podcast produced by Torch, the Torah Outreach Resource Center of Houston. Please help sponsor an episode so we can continue to produce more quality Jewish content for our listeners around the globe. Please visit torchweb.org to donate and partner with us on this incredible endeavor.